Hi, everyone. It's Susan again. I'm here this time to share with you some ideas around the solstice and also the new moon coming up in Capricorn, which is just about 36 hours later. So both events are going to be very similar, although there are some subtle differences. And in particular, the solstice is going to show us a 3-month progression. So we're looking at the entire phase of winter when we look at the solstice chart. So what I'm going to share with you here is a look at how we can expect the winter to pan out. And of course, if you're in the southern hemisphere, that's going to be your summer. So of course, the solstice marks the point at which the sun moves into 0 degrees Capricorn. This is what distinguishes a tropical zodiac from a sidereal zodiac. And the tropical zodiac is the movement, tropos means movement, of the sun across the ecliptical path and up to the Tropic of Cancer and down to the Tropic of Capricorn. So when we look at this chart, we're looking at the next 3 months. The whole season is being sort of forecast, let's say, by this event chart. What we see here very strongly is the 0 degree of Capricorn marked by the sun is also mirrored by the 0 degree of Jupiter that has just entered the day before into the sign of Aries. So those two cardinal signs are marked by two very important planets. And that for me signifies quite a lot of dynamic change. Cardinal energy is always very dynamic. There's a lot of movement and a lot of initiation energy in the cardinal energies of the chart, whether that be an event chart or an individual's chart. And when we see the sun ingressing into Capricorn, we also see that the moon in Sagittarius is applying to an opposition to Mars in Gemini, and that's just a little bit over 2 degrees. It will quickly perfect. And Mars opposite the moon is adding to this dynamic energy, because when we're looking at an event chart for a shared event, like movement of the sun into a new sign, for example, we depersonalize it and we take it out to the general public. So the moon represents the people. And of course, Mars is Mars. Mars is all about action. It's about dynamism, it's about aggression, assertion, war, division, etc. And so we're seeing that very dynamically with the moon opposite Mars is reflecting this quality of dynamism in the sun, which is squaring Jupiter in Aries, ruled by Mars. And so the sun is ruled by Saturn, and that Saturn has moved into Aquarius, which is another emphasis on this energy of the collective, of something new. Aquarius is moving towards the future and something changing. Another aspect of this solstice chart is that Venus is in an applying trine to Uranus in Taurus, and Uranus is still retrograde. It's retrograde until January, I think the 23rd of January, it's going to station direct. And Venus is moving through Capricorn, part of a stellium of Capricorn that increases when the moon moves in there at the new moon. So there's a very strong trend here between the Venus in Capricorn, tradition, money, how we use our money, what do we value, and also, I mean, again, with reference to this recent significant, I think, scandal around this FTX cryptocurrency exchange, which mixes not only new currencies. So if we look at Uranus and Taurus, it's like new ways of finding ways to signify money, new ways of trading money, new ways of working with value and money. And then Venus in that very traditional place. And Venus is squeezed between the Sun and Mercury. And then, of course, there's still Pluto there. So there's quite a lot of resistance around change. So although Capricorn is a cardinal sign, it is conservative and fundamentally about rulership and about leadership and about governance and so on. And so there is here this interesting dynamic, which is Venus triggering this, what is a supportive, harmonious aspect for very rapid transformation around the energy of Uranus, which is a long-term thing. We know this is going to go on until 2026, but each time there's something that marks this, it's a very important, usually a big, significant event that's happening around this time. And sure enough, we just see a week before this event, a very major cryptocurrency exchange has been literally bankrupted by its own leadership, which I showed in a recent video, was pretty corrupt right from the very beginning. Really not a mistake. There was some very important mishandling from the very, very beginning. Lots of red flags that people simply ignored. And I think now with this energy of Capricorn, the adults are entering the room and we can no longer ignore it. So I think we'll see for the next 3 months, our collective energy is going to be very much about who's controlling money and who is controlling anybody, because this is also coming down to regulation as well. So do watch that video if you're interested in any of this. I've also done the video in such a way that you're learning astrology through it. So I'm not just showing you the events, but I'm trying to explain why we see different things with regards to Sam Bankman-Fried, but also with regards to his engagement in the business as the last 5 years panned out for him. And I also show that with so many of his transits that the prison is the most likely outcome and or death. So we'll see. Right, moving on, we're coming right back to the solstice now. Another aspect around this stimulation and change around money is that it's not durable. This Venus in trine with Uranus, if you get into a relationship with this kind of energy, you can expect it to be really transformational, really significant, but not necessarily enduring, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Often we can gain great benefit from sort of short, sharp shocks, and this would be one of them. We'll probably see that result when Uranus moves back to this point, which will be in a couple of months' time, when Uranus eventually moves direct back into this 15-degree point. I think that happens around February. I forgot to check the date for that, but it'll be soon enough, and then we'll see a result. And interestingly enough, SBF's case is being adjourned until February. So he's in remand. He's being held in the Bahamas until that time. Again, watch that video if you want to learn more about that. One of the things with Sun squaring Jupiter, aside from this dynamism and this drive, which is that double cardinal energy at the 0-degree point, always very significant. This is the Aries point. That's where things change on the global stage, is where things take a different form, let's say, in visible ways, in ways that show up to the community, to the world at large. So this is an energy that, of course, can involve conflict. Mars is ruling that Jupiter in Aries. And so that squaring the sun can also trigger expansion of conflict. I certainly think that the winter is going to be very much a continuation of this world scale conflict. It's not just about Ukraine. There's so many conflicts that are under the radar because Ukraine conveniently, I think, from the point of view of some governments, takes up a lot of space in the collective consciousness, so that other things are not being noticed. And certainly there's an awful lot of conflict going on around the world. But the other aspect of this, both individually and of course collectively, is that we can overdo things. So this can be like too much of something, too much expansion, too much new engagement, starting things in a way that we're not really paying attention to. So again, it's a really, really great time for adding some dynamism to something that has been lagging a little bit. Really, really on an individual level, stimulating. It could be something that kind of triggers whatever was going on in May, for example. We'll see a little bit more about that at the new moon. And so this is good for getting unstuck, but also just beware of extravagance, beware of just going overboard, and beware of arrogance as well. And that applies collectively as well. So we're seeing a lot of that in the world around. Many people kind of deciding that they know best for the entire planet how to organize it. So, but I digress. Right, self-righteousness is another aspect of the Jupiter square of the sun. If I see that in a chart, I want to see other aspects of that showing that up. But that can be also another aspect of Saturn in Aquarius. So we're seeing that the ruler of this sun is also a bit in that energy of self-righteousness. And also importantly, with the sun coming up to square Jupiter here, is that there can be an unwillingness to see other points of view. So railroading through new things, regardless of what other people need or want or hope to see. Again, in your personal life, this will be much more clear, but collectively, I think we're going to be seeing quite a bit of that. And that's not going to end well, because we do have Mars here in the mix. Mars is not happy, not in good dignity. It is retrograde, very strong. And again, we'll probably see some recollection of that. Again, that'll come down to February, March, when Mars is going direct back over this point, I think by February in this case. So again, we know already that March is a very significant time, but we're certainly seeing how these things are starting to shape up as we move into the spring. And finally, that Jupiter squaring the sun, particularly in those two signs. So this is not always the case, because Jupiter is quite compassionate, but when Jupiter is squaring the sun in Capricorn, which is not an empathetic energy, And then also this slightly selfish, more me-oriented Aries energy, sort of shoot first, ask questions later energy. We're not seeing a whole lot of empathy, and I'm not so sure that we're going to see a whole lot of real communication coming through the next 3 months. I don't think we're going to see very much in the way of cooperation that will lead people to resolve things that might not happen until there's a really, really big shift coming by the end of March, when Pluto and Saturn change signs. Right, let's have a look at the new moon now. And here we see that we've got that massive stellium. Again, ignore these houses. This is the house that's set up for Greenwich Mean Time, or the universal time. This is the middle of the time zones, so you can just adjust the time for your own time zone. Now we see this new moon is in Capricorn. It also is in the nakshatra of Mula. Mula is the destroyer of dishonesty or lies. It's what points out all of the things that are not true. And that is something very pertinent right now. It's showing up something, and this is a very significant thing, both individually as well as collectively, that there is something that we need to see from beneath the surface. Now, certainly the South Node in Scorpio has been asking us to do this since January of 2022, recognizing where things are not what they seem. Again, that's a long standing theme. But nonetheless, this is really significant because it's triggered again in square to this Jupiter. Jupiter is all about integrity, wisdom, honesty, finding the truth. That's part of the mission of Jupiter in Aries, is to find your own personal truth. So this can be reflected more clearly in your own life. And maybe you'll see that, hopefully we'll see that in our collective experience as well. Mula is very powerful. It's what triggers things to change. Mula is very much related to, shaking up the status quo. And so we can see that theme building in this Capricorn energy, as well as the dynamism of the Aries energy, both of which are cardinal and are about new beginnings. Now we've seen already through the solstice chart that Venus is in a trine with Uranus. It stays in this trine throughout this new moon. And while Mars is no longer opposing the moon, Mars is still ruling this Jupiter and Chiron, which has just stationed direct. So only hours before this new moon, Chiron stationed direct. And this is quite significant, I think, because Chiron is now in sextile with the Mars that is ruling it. So I suggest that that represents, aside from this need for seeing things for what they are and seeing through things, it's a very personal message. It's also suggesting, and again, that will apply collectively as ever, but it's really a personal message to us that we can heal ourselves. Chiron is about healing. In this case, our sense of where we are hiding ourselves. With Aries, it's about where we feel insecure, where we've been told that we're not good enough. And so Chiron is now showing us where there's no need to hide ourselves any longer, and no need to doubt what is possible for us, especially in this sextile to Mars, which is very dynamic, really picking up the energy of desire for change and carrying on that theme of Capricorn, needing to see through things, needing to see through what needs drastically changing in our personal life and in the world around us. So really, for me, Chiron is always representing where we sabotage ourselves. Of course, it's the childhood wound as well. It's wherever we have picked up a psychology of our family, picked up a sense of what is appropriate or inappropriate, what is our truth or our family's truth that we have picked up in terms of how we see ourselves, how we feel about ourselves. And in this case, we'll be able to see through where we have sabotaged our own progress. So I'll touch on that as I go through sign by sign, but reflect on that, because this new moon is an opportunity to really see where that doesn't have to happen anymore. You get this courage, you get this dynamism, and something quite earthy. It's Capricorn is very grounded. There's now a massive stellium, 5 planets in Capricorn, saying now something needs to shift in a very important way. Something needs to shift in a very dynamic way. That is material. That is something you'll see showing up in your life. And in this case, with Capricorn energy as well, it's about a recognition of something that is foundational. So it has a gravitas, it has something of a seriousness to it. And I find this quite stabilizing in the energy of this massive shift that we're encountering at the time of this new moon, and of course just the solstice period that preceded it. So we still have that theme of the stimulation because Venus is still in this trine to Uranus, but we also have Venus in square to this Chiron. So it's a big square. It's about 4 degrees off. Nonetheless, it's a very valuable thing to pay attention to because it's carrying on this theme that is really about lessons in love and money. It's about where we feel challenged in love and money, which can also be self-worth, of course. We see Venus and Chiron aspects usually showing up where we don't feel worthy, where we don't feel worthy of love, we don't feel worthy of success and abundance. And so again, it's that message of self-sabotage, what's holding me back. And I will show you where Capricorn and Aries are showing up in the charts so you can see how that's playing out in your life if you're not sure already. And then we also see that Mercury is in a sextile to Neptune, and that can be super stimulating for the imagination, super for intuition on a personal level. We can really use that to try and refine our understanding of what we're experiencing, what we're sensing. But it can also lead to fantasizing, and it can even lead to a denial of reality or a withdrawal from reality. So, not a very rational energy. It is a really good time for spiritual pursuits. So, reflecting, meditating, sitting quietly, listening to what intuition is arising in you, and then also being cautious that that will apply collectively. It will apply to what we're hearing as usual, particularly because that Mars going through Gemini and especially in the retrograde period has been showing us where there's a lot of conflict brewing in our communications, in our way of expressing ourselves, in the way that we exchange values, monies, all kinds of information. Not honest. It's just not above board. And we really need to pay attention to that. You know, this recent Twitter scandal, which I also did a video about, just to plug another video, if you were interested in that, look at that Twitter video. I had a couple of people say to me, well, it doesn't affect me. I personally have not been censored. But the truth is that if somebody behind the scenes is filtering out the news that you're able to see, are you really getting a clear picture of what's going on? And are you okay with that? Many people are okay living in total ignorance like children. That's fine because, you know, we each choose our life and we make our bed and then we have to lie in it. But if you are interested in knowing what's really going on, it's quite astonishing that a few people, a very tiny amount of people in the world, are able to control the flow of information and what the average person has access to. It's definitely time to wake up to the fact that you are probably not getting a complete picture of the facts. And even when we think we are, we're not. And therefore, it's always good to step back and ask the question, how do I form an opinion with this level of information? For me, the spiritual answer is that we can't. We have to live in this space of not being sure. One of my favorite teaching gathas from Thich Nhat Hanh is, "Are you sure?" I have this as a calligraphy of his from many years ago, and I look at it every day. Are you sure? That when we think we're sure, when we've landed on a particular truth, there's no absolute truth behind it. It's simply a reflection of what we know in the moment to be true. And notice what's happened over the last 3 years and see how that truth has morphed. What was absolute truth and absolute science that we were told to follow slavishly has morphed into a whole different thing right now. And even mainstream media, which was definitely not purveying the truth and still is highly dubious, has come around to the fact that, yeah, we haven't really got all the information, and what's going on behind the scenes is something that we should be concerned about. So all of that to say that this particular new moon in Capricorn, plus the ingress of the sun into Capricorn, which we call the solstice, is very much a new territory for us to explore. What do we know? What is true? Really getting to the root through Mula Nakshatra, getting to the root of the truth and understanding it, and trying to understand where we are in relationship to that. So I'll just leave you with this reflection before we go sign by sign. Go back in your own life to what was going on in May when Jupiter first moved into Aries at the 0 degree point where it is now. Jupiter already was there in May. It was there again retrograde in October before going back into Pisces on the 28th of October. And that's something that probably created a sense of a new potential wherever Aries is in your chart. Well, now that new potential is really getting a boost. It's something that you can really go for. You've had a long time to reflect on that, and now you have an enormous amount of energy behind it. I would say supported with all of that energy of Capricorn. The sun squaring Jupiter is also very supportive. The moon squaring Jupiter, because the moon, of course, is conjunct the sun, moon squaring Jupiter is very inspirational. All in all, a really, really good time for you to move into that new area of life that you've been targeting since Jupiter first moved into Aries. We have a relatively small window of time. While Jupiter is in Aries, it's about 5 months. So do also look back, another plug for one of my videos, do also look back to my Jupiter in Aries video for more details of how the next 5 months are going to pan out for you and what that means sign by sign. It's a fantastic opportunity for you to see yourself in a new light as Chiron is moving through new territory and beyond this questioning of what am I doing, who am I, in whatever aspect of life that's been showing up for you in the house where you find Aries. And because Mercury is going to be retrograde from the end of December until about the 18th of January, and given that Mars is also only stationing direct after the 12th of January, I wouldn't recommend that you start a business, for example. I wouldn't want you to start something completely new. But nonetheless, it's a great time to really put a lot of energy into developing something new, to be ready to do so by the, say, the third, fourth week of January, and really take advantage of this energy that is continuing through the entire 3 months of the winter season or the summer season if you're in the southern hemisphere. So let's move on to the sign by sign forecast and see how that's showing up for each sign. Aries, this is happening in your house of career and social status. This is very much to do with what you have achieved and what you would like to achieve going forward. So not only do you have Jupiter and Chiron in the first house, which has been kind of reconfiguring your sense of self and what's available to you, now with this new moon in the 10th house, there's some really big progress that can be made in your house of career and authority and assuming a new role, perhaps as an authority figure. So this is a fantastic time to seize new opportunities and show up in the world in a very full way. This is a whole new cycle that Jupiter is offering you, starting in the first house and moving for 12 years through the zodiac. And also this new moon is showing up in the 10th house as a new cycle for your career. And in 6 months' time, when we have the Capricorn full moon, you're going to see some results from whatever you've invested. And by that time, Jupiter will have moved into your second house in Taurus, and that's going to show you perhaps the financial results of all of that as well. Good luck with all of that, Aries, and have a wonderful end of your holiday and best wishes for the new year. Taurus, this is happening in your ninth house. There's something new happening here in terms of what it is that you want to achieve in your life. It's really, I see this very much about your dharma, the destiny, what it is that you feel like you're here for. And this is all very new. Something is being highlighted in a way that you recognize now, this is what I need to do. This needs to change. That energy is very, very strong for you because it's Capricorn energy. And so you're quite determined, quite strong in terms of what it is that you want to achieve in your purpose in life. This can also be about reestablishing your philosophy of life or the way that you see things in life and recognizing that certain things may need to change. And also with Jupiter and Chiron in the 12th house, this is a really wonderful connection, building up a sense of your spiritual connection to that, a spiritual philosophy behind that. Maybe there's something that you've learned about yourself and your own behavior. The 12th house is the house of undoing, and that's where Chiron in Aries has been for so long, since May of 2018. And now with Jupiter going through there, lifting you back up, and also with Chiron moving direct, there's an opportunity now for you to recognize where you have been holding yourself back. So with Jupiter in the 12th house, of course, this is also to do with foreigners, foreign lands, faraway places, potentially monasteries and places of confinement in all kinds of different ways. And the 9th house is also very much related to foreign lands and foreigners, foreign philosophies, foreign religions, higher thinking in all kinds of ways. It's also because it's Capricorn for you, that is also potentially something quite traditional And maybe you're now reflecting on all of those different things. This is very much about some kind of religious or philosophical or spiritual understanding that you might be having right now. We're combining the ninth house where the new moon is happening and the 12th house where we have Jupiter and Chiron in Aries. And that's a really interesting combination because it's showing us a few things that have to do with the way that you see your life philosophically, spiritually, religiously, potentially. It may have already shown you that in the earlier part of 2022, and now it's coming back to show you how you can cover new territory in that regard. If you do any kind of work with people from foreign lands, this is a wonderful opportunity to reignite those kinds of relationships or to launch something very new. 12th house is not just foreign lands and foreigners, but it's also everything to do with behind the scenes places that can be anything from a hospital to an ashram to a prison. And so we're seeing here that there's something very new going on in that aspect of your life, maybe new work going on that you would like to pursue as a life path. And while you're figuring this out, Jupiter is also going to then allow you to take that out into your world, into your life as a whole new cycle as of the middle of May when it moves into your first house. And that's a really wonderful way to see this time as a preparation for when Jupiter starts this whole big new cycle for you in the middle of May. So this new moon coming in the ninth house is a really great opportunity for you to establish something that is connected to what you deeply believe, what it is that you really feel is important in life, and try to bring that out into the world. Try to do something about that in such a way that you are embodying that, whatever it is that you feel is your spiritual purpose or your life purpose here. Of course, this can also have to do with education. The ninth house is very much connected to higher education. It could be a new start in that regard. It could be deciding that you want to achieve a higher diploma, higher degree, or you just want to start to, embark down a new religious or spiritual path. Potentially, a new teacher comes into your life as well with that new moon there. All of that would support whatever it is that you're going to be doing after the middle of May, because whatever you're doing now is in preparation for that time where you're really stepping out into the world. So, however that looks for you, Taurus, I wish you all the best for the end of the year holidays and into the new year. Gemini, this is happening in your eighth house, a very hidden part of the chart. Lots of personal transformation here, potentially. That can be both in the sense of how you're relating to somebody else or to other people's money or what's going on in a domain of other people's money. It could be that some access to money is coming forward in this lunar cycle that this Capricorn new moon is showing you. Some aspect of how you're connecting with other people through shared resources, and because we've got this Capricorn energy, if you make sure you listen to the introduction of this, because we've got this strong Capricorn energy for establishing the truth, establishing something foundational in your life, this could be the opportunity you needed to really let something take shape, that you're really taking care to start something new and serious in that house of shared resources. That's also where you connect with people on the level of whatever you share. That can be your partner who's gaining something, and that's a new start for your partner. And this can also have something to do with what it is that you fear, or the greatest sense of what you've been held back through. And go to then the 11th house where we have Jupiter and Chiron having just stationed direct, is showing you already what you knew about something that has been holding you back in terms of your self-esteem, in how you show up in collective, cooperative, organizational, and social domains. But also the 11th house has to do with money. So the 8th house and the 11th house are around issues of resources and money that you share with other people. 11th house also has that aspect of being the money that you gain from the thing that you do. So maybe now you're taking on a new resource, a new income, where there's something new happening in terms of what you share with another person. And that is potentially, I think, quite positive, because Jupiter moving into your 11th is quite positive financially. And having this new start in Capricorn in the 8th house of other people's money is also giving you that boost, something very honest and real coming through there. If this has to do with something more psychological, which the 8th house can also represent, it's good. It's a great time now for you to launch yourself into a new understanding of whatever is going on, whatever has been holding you back. Maybe you want to engage in some kind of therapy or engage in some kind of practice that might be a little bit more esoteric, a little bit like what we're doing here with astrology or tarot or anything else that's a more of an occult practice to help you understand yourself. And this would be the ideal time to start that. And it's not just for this cycle, but you're starting a whole new cycle, because this will show its results by the Capricorn full moon when it comes up 6 months from now. So it doesn't have to be a short-term project. It can be something you're launching now for the longer term. And with Jupiter in the 11th, it's also showing you that there is something new opening up in your social circle, something new opening up. Chiron is giving you more of a sense of, okay, I get this, I understand how I've been, what has been holding me back there, and I can maybe move into that with more optimism and more confidence. And so if there has been any kind of illness or psychological challenge in the last little while, this is an opportunity for you to really come out with a fresh new start. So I wish you all the best for the end of the year and the new year to come, Gemini, and I'll see you in the next video. Cancer, this is coming in your 7th house of committed partnerships. All those important partnerships, particularly, of course, your intimate ones, but also with business relationships or really very, very good friends, for example. So something new is happening here. It can absolutely be a new relationship. You would want to see that somewhere else in the chart as well. That would also be determined by whatever the life cycle is that you're in and what the chart is promising. So we can't just say, boom, there's going to be a new relationship, although it's a new start in relationships. So let's say that you are recognizing something about how you are engaging with people, and now you're seeing a new way to do that. Or indeed, there can be new people coming in with this new moon energy. It's a stellium, it's a massive amount of energy in your 7th house. So without a doubt, relationships are showing up for you in a very, very big way. You can't avoid that. And then, of course, Jupiter and Chiron are showing you something about your career house. And this is showing you how you're showing up in the world. It's giving you a new opportunity. So it's the house of status as well. Important to understand that status is also marital status. So again, if that's about a new relationship, this could be something that launches a new marital status, a new relationship, a new way of being in relationship. That can also be a business partnership that is formed, some new way of showing up through a business partnership that could be very beneficial for you, Cancer. Chiron has been showing you, as it's been going through Aries since May of 2018, where you might feel insecure about taking your role in the world, where you might be sabotaging yourself and how you show up. Cancer has a tendency to hide when things aren't going very well or when things seem difficult. So you would tend to withdraw rather than kind of confront the challenge. And so this is where Jupiter and Chiron are going to give you a big boost and really highlight what it is that you need to do, how you need to show up, and give you the confidence to do that going forward. So, of course, be sure to see my Jupiter in Aries video for more details about the next 5 months while Jupiter is going to be in Aries, and give you a much more specific understanding of how that can play out for you. Best wishes for the holidays and for the new year to come, Cancer. Leo, this is in your 6th house of health and work and day-to-day life. And here we have a whole new start there. So this could be about a new job, or it could be some new undertaking that you've decided on. If you haven't yet decided on something, this would be a great opportunity to do so at this solstice period and the new moon. So definitely jump in and try to establish a new routine or work on how you can organize yourself through a new job, a new way of being in your everyday life that is better for you professionally, but also in terms of your health. This ties into Jupiter and Chiron in the 9th house, which is a wonderful sense of purpose, giving you a sense of clarity in your dharma and your purpose and the way that you want to show up in the world. Chiron is now going direct, and so the doubts that you may have had over the last 4 or 5 months are in some sense being erased, and now you've got the confidence to pursue what it is that you want to do. And that 6th house is going to show you how you should be going about doing all of that. If there is any kind of legal issue, this would also be a better time for you to pursue things, because it looks like you have more support, certainly a lot of energy around that. And so if there is any kind of legal something going on that you need to deal with, Jupiter and Chiron are both in a better position to help with that. And you've got this incredible stability in Capricorn which is helping you to move forward through something that might require a lot of determination to stand up for yourself. Having Jupiter in the ninth house as well is a really wonderful thing because it gives you such a lot of positivity and a sense of personal growth. It's a really benefic place for Jupiter. And so definitely go and see the Jupiter and Aries video that I've done recently for more details of how that's going to pan out for you over these next 5 months. So, Leo, I wish you a wonderful holiday season and best wishes for the new year to come. Virgo, this new moon is happening in your fifth house of creative expression. And the fifth house is a wonderful place to have a new beginning. It's a wonderful place to start over. This is the house of love and fun and games and hobbies and all the good things. Children, if you're a person who is looking to have children, this can be something significant either in the decision to have children or in some aspect of your children's lives if you already have them. It's really lovely to have a new moon in this part of your chart around the holiday time. And it gives you an opportunity to see how you can enjoy yourself, especially with Venus there, Mercury there. You're going to have an opportunity to really connect with people, really express yourself, and see that this is something that you can change if that has not been working out so well for you, or something that you can reignite or sort of stimulate once again. You have the Jupiter and Chiron energy in your eighth house of shared resources. This is quite positive as well. Jupiter is showing you where potentially there's something that you can gain from being in relationship or in a business partnership of some kind. It can also be that more resources are available to you through other people's money, or there's some benefit to exploring shared resources with another person. That can be investments, for example. Chiron is now moving direct, and so whatever wounding or difficulties you've experienced in the last few months there, in that might be, for example, in a very committed relationship, or it could be in a psychological sense, it's now resolving, it's moving on, and Jupiter is certainly going to help with that over the next 5 months. Chiron in the eighth house can show you where there have been some kind of hidden skeletons in your closet that you will have wanted to deal with psychologically. And it's a great time to do that. If you haven't already, you'll find an enormous amount of support and positivity in that area of your life. So perhaps your mood overall will also feel much more uplifted in this new cycle. And that goes on for quite a long time because Jupiter is in Aries for the next 5 months. If you haven't already, be sure to see that Jupiter in Aries video that I posted recently, and you'll get a lot more details on what Jupiter in Aries is doing for you in the next 5 months. So enjoy the holiday season, Virgo, and best wishes for this new year to come. Libra, this is happening in your fourth house of family. So this is also a very private house. It can also be with regards to your own emotional sense of security or happiness, your psychological inner life. But nonetheless, it can very likely show up in terms of where it is that you live, how that feels to you. And something new is happening here, a whole new structure. Capricorn is very structured, and potentially something that is quite dynamic happening as well, a new emphasis on that part of your chart. It might be that you're deciding to buy property. That could be one way that that works. And it could also be something to do with a committed relationship because Jupiter is in the seventh house of relationship along with Chiron that just stationed direct. So whatever healing and challenges may have been there in the months gone by, you're now finding a resolution. It's moving forward. So I think this is quite supportive energy for you. Any kind of challenge that may have been psychological or emotional is also getting a lot of support. So the seventh house is also counselors, people we rely on for advice. And if that's been the case, then you're certainly going to find great advice going forward. If it is something to do with home and family, then this is also a new opportunity to restructure that and understand your role in that and also establish things in the way that you want. It's a very enduring energy with Capricorn stellium at this time. It's a really wonderful time to kind of plant new seeds in that direction. What do I want for my home base? What do I need to feel secure in my life? And this will continue for the cycle of this Capricorn new moon, but also it continues for the larger cycle, which is going to take you 6 months from now into the Capricorn full moon and show you the results of everything that you've done. So Libra, I wish you all the best for this holiday season and for the new year to come. Scorpio, this is happening in your third house. There's a new moon happening in the place where you decide how it is that you want to communicate with people, how it is you want to engage with people. There's some opportunity for you to change all of that. This can have a lot to do with business if you are in business for yourself, so a new start in business. And that would be really well supported because you've got Jupiter moving through your house of work in the sixth house, and Chiron having just stationed direct there is giving you an opportunity to see how you may have held yourself back in that regard. It could also be to do with health, for example, that understanding of what needs to change in terms of your health, and that Chiron is showing you potentially, and that Jupiter is giving you the opportunity to change and to upgrade. This would, of course, support you in terms of how it is that you're acting through the third house, which is your everyday life, your experience of local life, how you move around through the world, everything that you're doing in terms of what you feel ready to do, courageous and feeling bold. With a Capricorn stellium there in the third house, this is really powerful for you. It gives you a lot of courage for sure, gives you a lot of willpower and definitely a lot of ambition. So that this is a wonderful time for you to start something new in your everyday work, in the way that you show up in your work, in the way that you communicate with people, and recognizing where the last few months have shown you that you're not really serving yourself, or that something about you has been holding yourself back in that part of your life. Again, either with regards to your everyday work or your health. In the sixth house, of course, that can show up where things have not been working out for you because of your very own activities, but your very own attitude to health. Great time, for example, to start a whole new fitness program because now you have the willpower to do it, you have the drive, you have the initiative that Capricorn is giving you that allows you to do something very different in your everyday life. This could also give you the courage to quit a job. Let's face it, not everybody's happy with their work. And if this is your case, and now you find the courage to say, you know what, that's not okay for me, and I'm not doing this anymore. Jupiter in the sixth house will give you a lot of opportunities. So I'm not suggesting you quit your job. Don't take this as advice. But if that were something that's already on your mind, Jupiter will give you opportunities where you can move into something new. And I would have to see your individual chart to see how that would all pan out for you, or if this is indeed a good time. So these are very general readings, very general aspects, and definitely opportunities are there, but we can't guarantee outcomes because we don't know what your chart is promising. So Scorpio, be sure to see the Jupiter and Aries video I just recently posted for more details on the next 5 months to come, because that's going to give you a lot more information based on what I've just said. And then, of course, have a wonderful end of your holiday and best wishes for the new year to come. Sagittarius, this is happening in your second house. What supports you? Everything you need in life that sustains you. And here, with a very, very powerful new moon with a stellium in Capricorn, you're getting that in spades. This could also be financial. So you're maybe grounding yourself in something more real financially. And that would absolutely be of great benefit to you. So this is an opportunity for you to invest, or an opportunity for you to find new order in your finances, or establish something that's more durable in your finances. And that's benefited by Jupiter being in the fifth house, which is quite a lucky place for Jupiter right now. And Jupiter is going to be there for 5 months. Be sure to check out my Jupiter and Aries video that I recently posted. You'll get much more information and details about the next 5 months and how that's going to pan out. But also, since Chiron has now just stationed direct in that same place, you're getting a new boost in terms of what you find creative or fun or inspiring. That could be with regards to yourself and how you show up creatively, or with regards to your love life even. So something very new, inspiring, different in that creative aspect of your life. If you have children, that can involve your children as well. So the fifth house is very much to do with children, having children. Do I want to have children? The opportunity to have children with Jupiter going through that house, it's a wonderful opportunity for you to engage with children you already have, or to decide to have children, because Jupiter represents children in our chart, among other things. And the fifth house is all about children. So this is a really inspiring time if you're looking to start a family, or if you want to just reground your family in something much more real, tangible. Capricorn will help you do that in the second house, which is also about family. It's about how we are sustained by the people around us in our everyday life. Capricorn in the second house is very good for money. Of course, you know that already. And so anything that needs to be redirected or reinvested, or something that you want to reestablish in terms of a commitment around money, then Capricorn will help you with this. You're going to see the results of this at the Capricorn full moon in 6 months' time. And it's definitely a really good time to get to the root of anything that might be bothering you. And it's a great time to restart any kind of second house issues, especially if they are with regards to self worth or money, and give yourself that sense of this is a new start, it's a new year, it's a new me. And you'll find that that really works out for you very well over the next 5 or 6 months. Sagittarius, I wish you all the best for the holidays and for the new year to come. Capricorn, this is all about you. You're starting afresh in your first house of self. And this fresh new start is something that gives you an opportunity to see yourself very differently over the year to come. And you're getting a really, really strong dose of Capricorn, a really big push personally. All of these planets, 5 planets, a stellium in your first house at this new moon is a really powerful new start for you. And that's linked to this also fresh start in the fourth house. And that fourth house is your family and home, but it's also psychological, your sense of security. And there's a really wonderful passage of Jupiter there. Chiron is now stationed direct, giving you an opportunity to see yourself in a much more healed and whole way. Chiron is showing you where you may have held back or where you may have been emotionally wounded or not being able to express yourself emotionally or feeling happy at all. And now that energy with the support of Jupiter is showing you how that can look for you, how that can look so much better for you going ahead. So definitely watch my Jupiter and Aries video for more details of the next 5 months, because it's going to give you much more information than I'll do here. But nonetheless, that first house and fourth house engagement is really shifting all of your life. These are the major pillars of your life. First house is you, fourth house is your foundation in life, your psychological foundation, and also your home and the connection to family. But then it affects, of course, the relationship and your work as well. So if you're really needing to turn the page, this is the time to do that. It's really the time to start something very, very new and jump into a whole new dynamic for the year to come. So you'll see the results of whatever it is that you're changing or initiating at this time, Capricorn. And you'll see that especially in 6 months' time when we get the full moon in Capricorn that shows you the consequences of your choices right now. It's a great time for you to be contemplating what it is that you want to do with your life and yourself, and giving yourself a really fresh start. This brings to mind the image of Charles Dickens' character Scrooge, and who wakes up after a very traumatic night of being visited by the ghosts of his past and present and future. And he wakes up to a completely new sense of self, a whole new positivity, a whole new sense of emotional security and joy. And this is very much what that feels like for you, Capricorn, with this very new energy in the first house and this wonderful support in the psychological fourth house. So enjoy this period of turning the page and refreshing yourself, and all the best for the year to come. Aquarius, this is happening in your 12th house, which is a hidden part of the chart. It's something very personal, very intimate. And it can also have something to do with people from faraway places or people who are confined, or even yourself potentially in confinement. This energy is going to be quite powerful. It's a stellium in that area of your life. So there's a lot to be gained by reflecting on yourself, by turning within, going in and seeing what's happening in your spiritual aspect of self, and seeing what is real for you in your spiritual life. It would be an excellent time for a retreat. It would be an excellent time for a retreat, for example. It may be a period of time where you want to withdraw, whether that be in a structured way, going away to a retreat center or some kind of clinic or something, or in just an informal way where you decide to pull back a little bit from others and take more time for yourself. It would be very nourishing to do something like that. You've got Jupiter in the third house, which is your siblings and cousins and your sort of everyday experience. And that also involves communication. So there's something brightening up that part of your chart right now. That Jupiter and Chiron now direct in the third house may be showing you where you didn't have this opportunity to stand up for yourself, or you haven't been using that opportunity to use your self-expression and willpower and speak up for yourself, communicate in a way that is supportive or in a way that is lucrative, even because it is also a business house. So Jupiter moving through there is really going to give you a lot of new opportunities in that regard. Because the 12th house can also be about business with foreign lands or foreign places. Maybe this is what that third house Jupiter is also supporting you with. You get new ideas, perhaps something to do on the internet, a new website that you want to create. or a new way of communicating, a new way potentially of teaching as well, if you do teach, or new skills that you want to learn. And this is all part of the process of understanding yourself and transforming yourself before Saturn, your ruler, moves into the first house and starting a whole new cycle of self. Now you have this opportunity where you really are able to transform something behind the scenes and use it in a very practical way. Of course, you can see my video on Saturn moving into Pisces to see how that might be experienced for you. And then, of course, also see the Jupiter in Aries video to see how that third house is going to be lit up for you over the next 5 months. So I wish you all the best for the year ahead and certainly for the holidays as well, Aquarius. Pisces, this is all about your hopes and dreams for the future, some new idea, some new role, some new way of establishing that. It's going to be in a structured way with Capricorn. It's going to show you something that is quite structured, that's quite out there, that you can see. It's tangible. This is also a money house. And so Capricorn can be showing you either new ways of making money or something that is now engaging in that area of your life, a new resource, a new benefit from things that you've already done in the past. Whatever investment you put here in terms of your time and commitment and engagement with other people will certainly pan out 6 months from now when you have the Capricorn full moon in this part of your chart. And because you also have Jupiter in the second house of money and whatever you own, the stuff that you have and your values, this is really looking very good for you financially. It's a really wonderful new start. I think Chiron now stationing direct in Aries is also showing you where you've been holding yourself back, sabotaging yourself in terms of your financial success or even your self-worth. And this is tying in now with the new opportunity that you have in the 11th. What I would say here is just show up, Pisces. Just stop this feeling of being inadequate in some way and just show up in your life and allow yourself to flourish financially as well as in terms of how you feel about yourself. And you'll really get the support that you need, I think, coming both from this commitment, maybe a new commitment in society or in groups and associations, maybe a new commitment to your goals, maybe one that's more realistic, especially since this is Capricorn after all, and this is very much about realizing things from mistakes of the past or realizing things that you were maybe wrong about or that you were not really seeing clearly. And then Jupiter Chiron in the second house is giving you lots of opportunities to engage in a new way in terms of your money and values. Use this time really, really preciously, Pisces, because it's giving you a golden opportunity for a fresh start. You're also going to have Saturn moving through your first house, and that can be a time for a complete rehaul, a complete reestablishment. Do see my Saturn in Pisces video to learn more about that. But then this will also be a preparation time for you between now and March, where you have an opportunity to see things from a different lens and then take advantage of what Saturn could bring you in terms of structure and restructuring in your first house of self. Also see the Jupiter in Aries video that's going to show you more about the second house and the details of that over the next 5 months. And you'll get a lot more information than what I'm giving you here. So best wishes for the holidays, Pisces, and all the best for this new year to come.